Hello all, and yes, it is me. Even with this, I might look different because of this and everything. But it is me. It's been over a year since I've done one of these. I might be doing more of these. We will see. I was asked about this on a kind of podcast thing that I did a couple weeks ago, and I'll put a link of that in the description if you want to hear it. We talked about like early YouTube and just some stuff if you want to hear it. But yeah, but I've been thinking about doing some videos, and then tonight was All Out, and All Out was interesting to say the least, so I thought this would be a good video to do. G1's coming up, and that's usually, I've been kind of holding off on like following New Japan really heavy until G1 started off, because it felt like that would be a good place to kind of jump on given everything that's going on everywhere. And yeah, and I thought just videos would be a good thing because I'm running out of things to keep me busy, to be honest. Just because, yeah, you know, with everything going on, and you know, work can only like last for so long. But anyways, yeah, it's been a while since I've done one of these, and if you listen to the podcast that I'll link, I was asked kind of what I was watching, and I talked about like New Japan and some other stuff, but All Elite has been pretty much what I've primarily been watching. I usually get to see it on Thursdays on the app. That's how I watch it. On the TNT app, because I have Spectrum, and the Spectrum app, which I could watch it on, absolutely sucks. Absolutely is horrible. But the TNT app is pretty good, other than when they go to picture-in-picture, you can't actually see what they're talking about because it's not picture-in-picture, they just start showing commercials. But other than that, it's all pretty good. So, pay-per-view was tonight. I thought the pay-per-view was below average. I wouldn't say it was horrible. It wasn't good, though. And it definitely wasn't what you would expect from AEW, and it was long, and there were lots of problems, and there's lots to talk about. So I figured this would be a good time to talk about it, and be able to kind of give like my impressions of like AEW as a whole, because this is kind of like their WrestleMania, even though it didn't really feel like that because of, you know, there are not as many fans, and probably this, I doubt this was the card they had in mind originally. I would have thought that probably this would have been Page versus somebody. I don't know if it would have been Moxley or somebody else, but it seems like they're going that way now. But yeah, but so leading up to this, I thought this would be a really good pay-per-view. I didn't think it would be a great pay-per-view, but I thought that we would get like a lot of like probably, if you watch AEW pay-per-views, even when they're just good, there's usually a lot of like storyline progression and things that make you like feel like things have happened, so that you kind of overlook kind of the negatives, which is a pretty good thing, I think. Personally, I think that's what you want out of a wrestling show. But this was really long. This was far too long. I really do feel like AEW should be like 3-hour pay-per-views. A show like this, maybe 4 at tops. And there's stuff that they definitely could have taken off. Probably not stuff that everyone agrees with, because there's a match that I know people thought was filler that I thought served, probably out of every match on here, probably did the best job of doing its purpose, and it had multiple purposes, and actually like was really good in that way on the pay-per-view, but we will get to that. But if you didn't watch everything, they did like a red carpet. I didn't see the red carpet. They did 2. I guess they did one before the TNT show of like the Road to All In, and then they showed the Road to All In, then they did another red carpet, and then you had the buy-in. The buy-in had 2 matches. I really feel like the Casino Battle Royale should have been on the buy-in, because I think that's where it belongs. I think it fits better there than on the pay-per-view, because it's long, it would fill time, you get to show a lot of people, it's, you know, you're probably going to leave it up on YouTube. It's just a better, I think it's a better place to put that than the 2 matches you put on there. Not that the 2 matches were bad, but just I think it's a better use of your time, especially because I think the show was too long. But anyways, that's just me. Okay, so the first match we had was oh, and before I get on this, the announcing was really bad, and I think all the way around. I think, and it was bad from like the start. I feel like Tony was off. He felt like he was off from like the very start. Even before JR got out there, and I think JR got out there, and I think things just got worse when JR got out there, and I think all 3 of them did not, for whatever reason, just it was not there tonight, and that did not help the show at all, because they were not like, they felt like they were all trying to do something different, and it just came off really conjuncted and not good. So there we go with that. Let me get that out of the way. But so the first match was Joey Janela with Sonny Kiss versus Serpentico with Luthor. You know, I like both of these guys. I like Joey Janela a lot. I wish Joey Janela and Sonny Kiss were actually in the spot that the Best Friends were in, because I feel like that's where they should be, because I think they are a better act than the Best Friends. Not that I think the Best Friends are bad. I just think that Joey Janela and Sonny Kiss are just a better act, and I think I would like to see them in that role more. Because Joey Janela, when he's in his singles, he doesn't get used probably as well as I would like, but I don't think he's used horribly. I think he has a role, and I think it's really good. I think he's good in that role, so there is that. This match was okay. It wasn't anything great. It wasn't anything bad. It was just kind of there. It was a pre-show match, and like I said, I think the Battle Royal would have fit better here, and the tag match that came after it, which was Private Party versus the Dark Order, which was, again, pretty good. Nothing to write home about. And the Dark Order members were Alex Reynolds and John Silver, who were both really good. And it wasn't bad. It was just kind of just there. So it was just what it was. I would have rather the Dark Order win, but that's not what they did. Private Party did, but again, I don't feel like either of these 2 matches really should have been on there. I think the Battle Royal should have been on there, but that's just me. Then we actually started the pay-per-view, and they started with Big Swole versus Britt Baker, which was originally we were told was going to be on the buy-in, which I wish it had been on the buy-in, because maybe I would have been able to stomach it a little bit better. This was one of these, pre-taped cinematic things that when it started, I kind of had high hopes, because they had kind of, at the very first, when Britt Baker shows up, it has this like horror vibe to it. And then that went out the window, and it turned into basically just an over-the-top comedy type, one of these pre-tape matches that I think we've seen far too many of now, and was really bad. Wasn't good. The ending was kind of just like, really, where they used the knockout gas on Britt Baker, and so she lost, and it was just it was, like I said, I had hopes for it at the beginning, because it looked like they might be doing something a little different, and then they didn't. They just turned it into like a garbage match, and it was like, okay, and it wasn't very good. It was bad. But it was like, okay, we got that out of the way, so be it. But, whatever. Then you had the Young Bucks versus Jurassic Express with Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. This was really good. Wasn't great, but I would say really good. This was very much the Young Bucks showing like their heelish ways, that they were being a little bit more aggressive. I did think it was kind of odd, that I would have liked, because it was like, oh, this is a new, we've never seen the Young Bucks like this. And Excalibur would be like, I've known these guys for a long time. I've seen when they're like this. It's a different Young Bucks team. They're different. I wish we would have gotten that. We didn't. I'm sure there's a reason for that I know nothing about, but I just didn't feel like it was there. But this was really good. I know some people were upset because Jungle Boy took the pin. I always see people like, oh, Jungle Boy gets beat too much. I agree that he probably does get beaten maybe a little bit too much, but here's the thing. He always is made to look really good. and you can only push so many people, at a time, and I think that they're just kind of waiting on him. And I know people can say, well, you can always beat Luchasaurus. I think if you start beating Luchasaurus like that, I do think it hurts him. Even if he looks good and wonderful in the match, I think if you beat him, I think it does, because he's supposed to be the big, he's supposed to be the monster of the group. I think Jungle Boy losing, I think, fits more with his role, but I also think the way they always have him look and the fact that he always looks good, I think he loses without actually kind of losing anything. I don't think it hurts him as much as people think it does. I just the way it looks. I think they can. I think it's very easy for them to just have him start winning and have it work, and people won't bat an eye because they'll be like, okay, this makes sense because he's always just short of winning anyway, so it kind of makes it believable. Then we had the Casino Battle Royale, which, like I said, I think should have been on the pre-show. I think it would have fit better. You would have cut down on the show altogether. This was pretty good. I didn't think it was great. I would say, I'm trying to think. It definitely wasn't as good as the first one. Maybe as good as the second one. I mean, it wasn't bad, but it was pretty interesting. So you had a lot of stuff going on. But so some of the highlights, I would say, was Hobbs was pretty much a highlight, I would say. You had Matt Sydal come out as kind of the Joker, who was the surprise, and he came out. He was supposed to do his shooting star press, and he slipped. Didn't kill himself amazingly, just kind of fell on his back. And but he's been around enough. He ended up looking good for the rest of the match. Kind of sucks for him. They did a lot of stuff. They had the big guys kind of pair up. You had the best friends, and you had Santana and Ortiz kind of pair off, and they had their nice little story. You had Sonny Kiss and Jack Hager had a nice little story. It looks like that they may be going to, which I'm fine with that. I thought it was booked pretty well. I thought everything pretty much made sense. The ending was a little over the top with came down to Lance Archer and I can't even think, Eddie Kingston, and then Jake got involved with the snake, and Eddie found out Eddie Kingston's scared of the snake, and so he's scared of the snake, and so the snake is like a thing, and it came up a little too kind of at the end. Lance Archer won, which I think works really well. I think it rehabs him a bit at the same time because he looked really strong in the match, and I think him and Moxley, we know him and Moxley can have like a really great match. So that is something to look forward to. But I think it's an interesting thing. So, but like I said, I thought it was pretty good. I think it should have been probably on the pre-show. I think it would have done better there. I think it would have cut some time off and all of that. Then we had Matt Hardy versus Sammy Guevara. This turned into craziness because Matt Hardy looked like he took a really bad bump on the concrete, looked like he knocked himself out, looked like they were going to stop the match, and then they realized if they stopped the match, then Matt loses, and then Matt's out of AEW, and so I don't know if they knew what they were doing, and maybe he really wasn't hurt. I don't know. But they went to the finish. It looked like early this. I don't even know how to rate this because of that. I would say, it was bad. It felt bad. It felt like if he was knocked out, they should have stopped the match anyways. If he wasn't really knocked out and wasn't hurt as bad as it looked like he was hurt, then it just didn't come off well. Either way, this was just not good. The show wasn't bad at this point. It was just kind of there. And then I think at this point, everything just kind of I wouldn't say fell apart, but nothing was hitting to where you would hope that it would be, right? Because I think a lot of people thought that Matt Hardy and Sammy Guevara was going to be like at the very least, this crazy spectacle, and you didn't even get that, and so it felt really off, and then everyone was worried about Matt and all of that stuff. Then you had Shida versus Thunder Rosa. I was looking forward to this. I know a lot of other people were looking forward to this. When people have wondered why kind of the AEW women's stuff has been the way it has, especially during everything that's been going on for the last 6 months, here is your proof. I don't know how else to pinpoint this. This is probably the most talent they've had in the ring as far as women in 6 months. And amazingly, the match was really good. I think this hurt not being in front of a crowd. I think if this was been in front of a crowd, I think the crowd would have gone, just eaten this up, and they would have fed off the crowd more, and I think it would have been great. I think it would have been truly something special, but it wasn't, so it was just really good. But I thought they went out there, they did a really different type of match than what we normally kind of see from the AEW women, because you had 2 women that were really good. And unfortunately, due to the fact that WWE bought up most of the talented women before AEW started, because they knew AEW wanted them. Then AEW was like, okay, well, we'll just bring in Japanese women and women from Japan to fill this role until we can bring in more women. And then now you can't do that. And so now you're stuck with what they have now. And now you have 2 women who can actually go, and amazingly, they put on a really good match. And when people sit there and wonder why AEW doesn't push the women more, it's because Britt Baker is really good in her role, but she's not that great in the ring, and she's just a really good act. And virtually everybody else is super green and just not there. And so it's hard to focus on the women and give the women what I think everybody wants out of the women when you just can't do that. So you just have to do the best that you can do, and I think that's what they've been doing, and I think this is just proof of that. This was really good. I almost would say this was match of the night. Almost. I think there's 3 matches you could put there. And I think that other than the main event, I think that says something, because I don't think anyone really would have thought that going in, and it's not that. I think the women in the main event, I think, were the only 2 matches. Maybe the Young Bucks match as well, but I think people kind of thought that might be even better than it was. Was the only match that kind of delivered where everyone thought it was going to be. So there you go. Then we had the 8-man with Matt Caverna, Scorpio Sky, the Natural Nightmares with QT Marshall and Dustin Rhodes, taking on the Dark Order with Colt Cabana. And this, okay, so I saw a lot of people say that this was filler, and I was like, is this really filler? Because you have Cody's crew, right, taking on the Dark Order with Brody Lee after Brody Lee put out Cody. So they all want revenge on Brody Lee, right? And they built up the fact that Dustin wanted to get in the ring with Brody Lee. And when Dustin got in the ring with Brody Lee, it felt like a thing. It felt like it was something that really needed to happen. You had the whole thing that's been going on with Brody Lee and Colt Cabana. You had the story of Brody Lee basically giving Colt Cabana the win, and Colt Cabana lost. You had all of that going on in this match. And all of that continued, and all of that went on. And I think that you had multiple things happen in this match, multiple things story-wise happening on this match. This was far from filler. I would say this was a match that, yes, maybe it wasn't the strongest match on the pay-per-view, but it was a match that made sense being on the pay-per-view. It served a purpose. It served a purpose afterward. It extended the storyline. I think this was probably the best booked match on the entire show because of that. I think that the things they were trying to do came off better than they did in the tag team title match, which was the other match that I would say was probably booked. The things, they got to where they wanted to go, but I think they got to where they wanted to go in kind of a wacky way, if that makes sense. But I thought this match was good. I don't think it was great, but I think it served all of its purposes. I think it did everything it needed to do. And I think that and the fact of the matter is, this was a match that could have been really or if everyone went out there and they just hit it out of the park, could have been great. They didn't do that. It was still good. it still served its purpose. I think everyone came in and really tried to do the best they could, and I think it worked. And it kind of amazes me that people are kind of like, who cares about this match? When it actually, more than maybe a lot of matches on here, served its purpose. So, there we go. Then we had the tag team title match with Kenny Omega and Adam Page taking on FTR. This was really good as well. I wouldn't say it was great. I think it underperformed as well. I think it needed some stuff. It needed fans. I think this was another match that really needed fans. Also, I think the way they told the story between Kenny Omega and Adam Page and everything that was going on was a little overly. I think it needed to. It started a little heavy-handed, and because it started heavy-handed, you could see where they were going, and because it went 30 minutes, it kind of took a long time to get there, and it needed to be a little bit better than that, I think. I think the storytelling needed to be a little bit more where Kenny and Adam were on the same page at the start, more so, and then as the match went on and on and on and on, you got to the point that it got to. I think that would have worked better. And then you had the whole, is the Elite changing? Are we getting the cleaner? All of that. It felt very concluded. It felt very meshed up and not as good as it could have been. It was still a really good match. It served its purpose. I think, if this had been like a normal AEW pay-per-view, I think we would be like, it probably wasn't booked as well as it should have been. But this honestly was probably, like, storyline-wise, the second or third best booked match, and that kind of just like, wow. It like I said, it says something about the rest of the pay-per-view. Then we got Orange Cassidy and Chris Jericho in the Minosa Mayhem match. So when they announced this, I was like, if this doesn't have, like, 4 Minosa pits around the ring, I don't see the point of it. They didn't do 4, they did 2, because you had the ramp, and I was fine with that. I think the setup was good. The problem with this match is that it was a hardcore, somewhat comedy match that they tried to play as less of a comedy match and more of a hardcore match, and it really didn't come off. I've seen comedy hardcore matches that were better than this. I've seen actually just comedy matches that were better than this. It just didn't. I think they did everything they could right. I just don't think it came off well. I think Orange Cassidy winning was the right thing. All of that, and the idea behind it, I don't think is a horrible one because it makes sense. You got the bubbly, and you got Orange Cassidy and orange juice, and all of that kind of makes sense and where they got to it, even if it was a little silly. But I feel like it was just not where it needed to be. Match was okay because of that. It was just kind of thing. So and then we had Jon Moxley versus MJF. This was very good, I thought. Much better than I think people thought it was going to be. I thought MJF really did show that he was going to be really good, or that he showed up and was really good. I think he carried his weight, unlike when he took on the other great match I can think of that he was in with Cody. And I think he showed a lot here. I really do. I think he showed a lot because, let's face it, Jon Moxley doesn't have the best track record as far as like delivering in the main events. Even though I think he's very good at his role, I don't think he's so much great about delivering. So yeah, we had all of that. So yeah, so overall, like I said, it was, and if you look at it, it sounds like, oh, well, this was an okay pay-per-view, but it was long. The crowd, because they were spaced out, I don't think they were mic'd well. I think the wrestlers were probably way too tired by the end. That were close to the ringside. There was just a lot of that, and so it just came off, and it was just a chore. Anytime it's a chore to watch, that's not good. And this became a chore to watch. Like I said, I thought the main event was really good. I think there was a lot of really good stuff on the show, but because it was so long, you didn't have anything great, it really didn't help much. So, I can't say go watch this if you didn't watch it. I think if you get a chance, I would say the main event is worth seeing, because I think you really saw a really great performance from MJF, even though he lost. And I think even with him losing, I don't think he came off bad at all. I think he's still very strong coming out of this, so I think that's good. So there we go. And that's that. Like I said, I think this definitely, I would say, is the weakest show that I can think of off the top of my head. And I just, things just did not click. I saw a lot of people talking about the fact that, you know, Cody kind of disappears and stuff like this happens. And I think there's maybe something to that, but I don't know. It did feel very, yeah, it felt like there was a way, you know, a lot of people have noticed there's been a lot more comedy, but the ratings have been good. So what do you do? I think the pay-per-view is where the comedy needs to end, though. And I think it needs to be a little bit more serious. And I think you can probably do the comedy on the TV show and it'd be okay. But there was just things did not click. And like I said, I think the Matt Hardy, Sammy Guevara thing hurt, but I don't think it hurt to such a degree that it hurt everything. You know, now how they handled that situation may have been really bad. And if Matt Hardy was as hurt as it sounds like he was hurt, from at least the last time I heard, then they handled that horribly. They should, and any backlash they get is well deserved, I think. So there is all of that. But like I said, I think the show wasn't structured properly. I think it went on too long. The stuff that needed to deliver didn't. I think a lot of stuff just didn't click. And, you know, I don't think it was like so bad that, oh my god, they gotta go back to the drawing board. I think it was just a lot of stuff that didn't click, but I think it's stuff you need to learn from and say, hey, this stuff doesn't work. Maybe we need to do something else and go back to what we've done on the other pay-per-views, even though there were no fans. And I think that's a problem, of course. But, you know, you can't keep blaming the fact that there were no fans. So anyways, and this has been almost 30 minutes, and that's probably too long for a review, but it is what it is. Anyways, I hope everybody's doing good. Like I said, there might be more videos coming. There might not be more videos coming out. Hopefully there's more videos coming. We will see. Like I said, G1 is coming soon. Very, very, very soon. And when G1 is here, you will probably see more videos, because G1, and it's G1 with mostly rested guys, or I shouldn't say rested, but they're more rested than they have been. So maybe it will be like really crazy, or maybe not. We'll see, but we will see. Anyways, with that, I am out. Like I said, I'll put a link in the description for the podcasty thing. And you guys can watch that if you want. Actually, you should probably maybe go watch it. Might be a good idea. But anyways, with that, I'm out. Have a good one.